Hello, welcome to Smileys. Tonight we're discussing the very last few chapters of Forge of Darkness by Stephen Erickson. This is our summary episode of chapters 19 and 20 of Forge of Darkness. The spoiler scope is Mods and Book of the Fallen, and also Mods and Empire, and now all of Forge of Darkness. And what else? Are we doing something else?
No, that's it. I think that's it.
Probably. And so my co-host just spoke out of turn. We're kidding. My co-host is Maura. Hello, Maura.
Hi, Lee. So you didn't introduce yourself.
But... Yeah, I didn't. That's true. I mean, if you've watched 20 episodes of this, you probably know who we both are, but tradition.
So we're done.
Yeah, we're done. And this was...
Again, did I talk out of turn? Sorry?
Probably. No, I don't think so. I'm the one talking out of turn now. Apologies.
Yeah. So should we get to it? I think you have like 5,000 words in your chapter.
Yeah, let's not like filibuster too much. You know, we're done. We're finishing, and now we're gonna actually relate to you what happens in the book that we just finished.
So, chapter 19. Chapter 19. Sorry.
No.
Yeah. Okay, that is a joke. Okay, fine. So we start with Raal, who has been missing for most of the book. We thought he went to the Husk Legion. So yeah, that's where he is. And he's got wagon loads of wine and ale as gifts to the Husk Legion soldiers. And as they're distributing, he and Taurus Redon are talking. Right? But she is still drinking her own wine. She's not yet opened his wine. I mean, she's not yet taken any of their things. And, they have a nice dialogue. So he calls them both as rivals, and she disagrees. Then she says, that the Legion soldiers, Urisander's Legion basically, they are fearful of the husked swords, and it might be better if Raal was generous towards them rather than the husked Legion soldiers. He says something like, the songs of war or something, and Raal doesn't like it. So then she starts mocking him, like really badly. Like, what stirring symphony would you wish for war, Captain, and all that. So then he gets mad, and then he says that she has deniers in her legion, and the Husk Legion is sworn to Mother Dark, so she can't harbor deniers. And Taurus then just, she calls out his contradiction that you don't respect your enemies enough, but at the same time you keep trying to elevate their threat level. So which is it? Do you like... Are they a threat or are they not a threat? Raal, who has not been questioned so much so far, he struggles to stay calm. He says that he respects them, but he needs her help to defend Mother Dark.
Shit.
So, to continue, we had some technical issues, so let's continue. So then he gets mad, and he says that she is like harboring deniers in the Legion, when, Husk Legion is like supposed to be Mother Dark's own. Then she just asks him, like, what exactly are you implying? That you don't respect the enemies enough, at the same time you're trying to elevate their threat. So, she calls him contradictory. So Raal becomes even more angry. He struggles to stay calm. He says that he respects the Legion, but he needs her help to defend Mother Dark. Then she says that, none of them know what Mother Dark wants. Isn't that the whole thing? That she compels nobody. She has not asked anyone to defend anything. So maybe Mother Dark is an embodiment of the hollowness at the core of their beliefs. That's what Taurus thinks. And then she evokes an image of people crowding the rim of an empty bowl, pushing each other off. And, and they're all jealous of Draconis because he's already inside the bowl, swimming away. And that's why everyone hates him. So, and then she also says that if Draconis was really ambitious, he would have gifted Mother Dark 2 thrones instead of 1. Right? So yeah. Now Raal, he's a smart guy, so he changes gear. He says that soldiers should not be resented during peacetime, right? Because they sacrifice so much. And she says that it's not resentment, but it's indifference, and she welcomes it. Then he says they deserve rewards for all the sacrifices they have done. And then Taurus launches into this whole paragraph on reparations, which is really good. And then she ends with like, is it a title you wish? Very well. I proclaim you the Lord of War and will seek for you a proper estate and all that. So with this, Raal is done. He knows that he's not going to get anywhere tonight. So he offers her a jug of wine, and she says she's done drinking for the night. and she'll join the night watch to patrol the compound or something. And she knows that they're disciplined enough to not have got drunk, or they will get the lash. I don't know, the lash. It's so commonly said that they'll get the public lash. So then they say goodbye. Hunral says they're not enemies, and she replies, "Of course, we're not enemies, except the deniers in my ranks." Then she accuses him of never drinking as much as he pretends to, and then she leaves. Sevek comes into the tent, and he tells her that they're leaving right away, in secret. Before dawn, they have to be riding, is a plan. Right? So now we move to Captain Ivis at Dracon's Hold. His friend Corporal Galain has called him to show him something. They see that an army is marching towards them from the west, and they can't see the banner yet. So doesn't matter. They're marching for war. So Ivis calls gives the call to assemble the troops, arm everyone, and be ready. And he also knows that he wants to test the heavy cavalry. It's time, right? Because they've been practicing for so long. So no matter what that army is, he's going to bloody their noses and send them out. That is his plan. So soon a few enemy soldiers ride to the edge of the killing field, and we should know that there is a convenient killing field nearby. And then they plant their flag as like a challenge, and only then they realize that, oh, these are border sports. Yeah, yeah.
By the way, the
Yes.
killing field, which I was describing, is a specific area set out before a hold, in which the besieging army would be vulnerable
Yeah.
to projectile fire from the hold itself. It's not like they have like an abattoir and they're slaughtering pigs nearby. That's not what it means.
Okay.
So in short, like they're coming right up to where they're within arrow range and could very well just be killed immediately to issue challenge.
Yeah.
Does that
No,
make
and
sense?
they also notice that these guys, this marching army, yeah, the marching army doesn't have siege weapons. So that's why they're ready to face them outside in the field. Because it's not going to be a siege, it's going to be a hand to hand combat, right? So, anyway, those riders are our friends, Ferren, Rind, etc. And they have ridden for days without taking any rest. Their horses are tired, the warriors are tired, everyone is done. And Ferren understands what's going on better than we expect, that they're angry and they have found an enemy, and this day they will battle this enemy. But she also knows at the end of the day, there can be no answer to the emptiness inside them. Like, it's not going to answer all the losses they've had, right? So Ferren advises that they take rest for some time, but Rind thinks there's no need, and they have seen the house blades practicing. They think that there are too few men and their armor is too heavy, so they'll get tired, and so the border swords will win. Is the hope. Anyway, they have time till noon before the Dracon soldiers can march out and assemble and all that, so they can take rest for half a day. Then suddenly Ferren has an epiphany. She tries to think of what possible motivation could be there for Dracon's Hold to attack the border swords. If it was to eliminate them as a threat, then why attack them when their warriors were not in town, when they were all away hunting, and who would obviously come back and give answer? Then she questions Lahanis, like, "You're the only eyewitness. Did you see the standard of house records?" She's 15. So I'm not a child. I know what I saw. Yes, it's dragons. And she doesn't change the story. Then their challenge is answered because one more flag has been planted there. And then they all get ready. At this time, Ferren feels a baby in her womb, stirring like a thing made of fists. Or thing making fists. Something like that. Now, Sandalath has been locked in a room since the night of the killings. Ivis thinks the daughters have fled away. Daughters of Draconis have fled. But, they have not found any traces. And then Sand thinks she can hear whispered voices in the night. And there is also this forbidden room, the locked room in the tower. And, yeah, and by this time we also know that she has a crush on Ivis because, she's giving him what? Mopey eyes and some stuff. So anyway, he tells her that they're being attacked today and this is a bad day. And then she asks, like, what madness has afflicted us, the Teist? And he replies that such a question is for poets and not for soldiers. And then he says that he might not be good enough without his lord. And, he misses his surgeon. Do you remember that surgeon Atran, the one who had a huge crush on Ivis? He says he misses her on this day. Yeah. And then Sand says they might not have been attacked if Ivis was home. And then, he thinks that she's throwing shade at him and says sorry and all that. Then, this is the truth of all war. This was a nice line. The side that holds its nerve longer is the side that wins. So it's no different from any argument, right? arguments in iron. Then she wishes him luck and says she will watch from the tower, and she sees them setting up rudimentary field medic supplies like
Mm-hmm.
instruments and water and bandages and stuff. So there's only she sees the horse master, the stable guy, Wenth, who is crying over his horses, which are not yet dead, but he's
Of
already
course.
crying. And she remembers this
Yeah.
forbidden locked room. Yeah, yeah.
No, no, no. Yeah, yeah.
She
Yeah.
remembers this locked room is in the same tower, and which the girls call a temple. She's been given a fighting knife, so she has this, and then she starts climbing. And Wenth also joins her as escort because Ivis has ordered him. She's still a hostage, right? But they're all worried that the girls are still inside the keep because food is going missing from the kitchen. And now we shift to the daughters. Malice is rotting, right? So she's rotting, and the three are sitting under the kitchen floor eating bread. And Malice's stench is like unbearable. Then they decide that this is the right time to get the hostage because everyone else is busy battling soldiers and stuff. And then enemies envy signals to spite that they have other problems to take care of first, right? So like the final murder and disposal of Malice. And
Mm-hmm.
they're sort of worried that next step they might start using dogs to hunt these girls, so they want to avoid that. Then they climb out of a chute into the kitchen proper, like into a ladder or something. And when they're pulling each other out of the tunnel, Envy grips Malice's hand, and that was so disgusting to read that she can feel the skin sort of slide under her grip and all that. She's rotting. She's rotting throughout. Yeah. And then they all have night vision now, so that's a new thing. Then after they all reach the kitchen, Spite knocks out Malice with a heavy wine jug, crushes her head, but she still keeps moving. So they stuff her into the oven, probably breaking her legs so that she fits in properly. And then they set fire, right? And then they decide that they can't decide what exactly went wrong in trying to kill her the first time. And then they decide that we should never turn on each other envy and spite ever, because then it will be real for keeps. Dying will be for keeps. So then they feed more wood, and Malice burns. I don't know why I find this so funny.
Yeah, there's like a very weird quote about like it's very specific and like very ominous. It just goes, "In the oven, Malice burned." And I'm not sure if I'm just like
Yeah, yeah.
if I am reading too much into it or like if there's something deeper into it. I don't know. I do not know.
Right. So yeah, then Rin remembers childhood, the way he had to drag Ferren from her playtime because she would always be sitting on a tree, and she would kick and
Oh,
thrash and scream when he drags her home. Oh yeah, the sad stuff is starting now. Yeah,
yeah, yep. I know.
and as they're assembled, they're all standing there. I've summarized very. I've kept everything very brief because it's really sad. Then their belief is that the soul enters the body only at the time of birth. So Feren's unborn daughter's soul is probably looking out at them, and then he feels a sudden burst of love towards her. And then he looks at Will. Will is apparently in love with a young man, but now the young man is no longer alive. Galak had lost one more love in a long string of lost lovers, and apparently she's also dead. Then there's Try. Do we say Try or do we say Traj? Whatever. His wife has loved him very deeply, and you have something?
I think I
What do you
called him
say?
Traj, but
Traj.
try
Okay.
is probably closer to what it is.
Right. So anyway, his wife and four children, they're all dead, and so on. He looks across the field and sees that there are actually 500 houseblades, and they're all heavily armored and mounted. And then Raj starts commanding them that that when the charge happens, they're supposed to like part, attack, and keep withdrawing like skirmishers, because the heavy armored guys will tire sooner, and they have these helms, so they can't hear commands. Is what these border swords think. They're so like they can't even what do you call it? They don't stand a chance here. If they think that commands will be shouted on the field and they'll get tired in spite of all these preparations and things like that, it's really dumb. So Rint again looks at Ferren, and she kicked and screamed because she wanted to stay a child, and he wishes that they had all stayed back in childhood. Then there is a whole paragraph about losing a child and how sad that is, and I'm not going to say anything about that. Yeah, do you want to say anything about that paragraph? I'm not
No,
going to.
not particularly. It's just this notion of becoming a child again, or being, or like children in general in Kirkanas are very elevated. It's come up before, and it's gonna keep coming up. So
Do you know why I think that? Because as a society, they are so long lived. Children must be very rare,
could be.
right? So anyway, the charge starts, and on the other side we see Ivis shouting for a wedge formation with a point of only 3 soldiers and 20 on each side sweeping back. Ivis is sick of war because he's seen it all before dozens of times. That's the big advantage of keeping Ivis, and the big disadvantage also because he's seen it all before. Then he gives them a pep talk that they've always received orders on when to eat and when to sleep and when to drink, etc. And now the time has come for the order to kill. And then as he leaves, he can hear all the soldiers
Etc.
bantering.
We're not gonna finish that
And it's
sentence.
so good.
Okay.
But Eric's, feel free. You can feel free to do it because
Okay. Yeah. Never mind. Just
the
please.
next line is
I
going to
broke your
sour
flow.
it. I know.
I broke your flow.
I know. No, no, you're not breaking my flow because Ericsson breaks the flow here if you think about it. See, the banter is so good. The thing is, the soldiers are telling each other, I miss the order to fuck and all those things. It's so funny, but then immediately it gets cut down because Ivis is just so jaded. By this time, I can just hear Ericsson saying that no, this banter is not just fun time banter. It's these guys are they're facing death. This is how they're going to react, and that line just what was so good. The what do you call of life pushing through the fugue of impending battle, right? That's what that banter is. It's not just haha fun times. We're all drunk. We're all going to talk whatever we want, and it's not that. It just soured the whole whole joke for me. So that's why I didn't want to bring it up. So anyway, I was thinking he's heard all these thousand flavors of the same bitter taste, right? So anyway, have you been missing symbolism in this chapter? Do you think so far we've not had enough? Yeah. So here is some. Those two flags which were planted next to each other, they both fall down before the battle can even begin. Yeah. So anyway, and Sandaleth is watching from the tower. Just remember that. And now let's go to Rind's POV because he's going to die now. This whole wedge when they were charging was only a feint
Spoilers.
because what?
No. Yeah, nothing.
Spoilers. Did you say spoilers? So yeah, so this wedge is actually a wide row. There is no chance of like parting before the charge and reassembling and whatever their whole peasant tactics will not work against a disciplined army like theirs. So Rint is killed almost immediately, quite horrifically, which I'm not going to recount here. But in his dying breath, he notices a tree.
Yeah, his
and
first
thinks
thought
that
is like,
Karan
that
is
was
hiding
fast.
there, so he climbs the tree. His what? That was
His
fast.
dying
Yeah,
thought,
yeah, yeah.
like,
The whole,
that
yeah,
was
it
fast.
happens. Yeah. So anyway, he climbs his tree and he thinks it's Ferren, but it's actually Olarathin, who looks fire damaged now. Think about it. And she's there because she had vowed to greet him on the day he died. So she's there. And then she tells him that she forgives him. And the word forgiveness blesses both sides. Do you think that is significant for any other things going to come up soon? Maybe in the next book, forgiveness blesses both sides. Yeah, we'll keep it for part 2. Then he asks about Ferren and her daughter, where are they? And she tells him that they're not very far and it's a big tree and all that. And then he holds her hand and sits there, thinking that he's never again going to fall. Okay. Now, Sandalath, she sees that there is a break after the initial clash and the house plates are all reforming into an even line. And a few wounded have been riding back to the keep. As you say, it was very fast. The battle is like just done. And then when the dust settles, she sees that the entire field is carpeted by bodies, both horses and people, not fully dead and, dead bodies, everyone. And 300 riders have survived. They are past the low walls of the killing field, actually. And there might not be enough to mount a second attack. Ivis calls for a yielding of the ground so that the other side can come and retrieve their wounded and go back. And then Sand starts asking, what if they start attacking? Because, we have yielded the floor to them. And Wen says that once they leave, it's done. Like, you lose will, right, to come back and fight again. And, Ivis might even offer his cutters and healers to help them once their own house blades have been taken care of. So Sandalat says it seems such a waste, horse master, and he says war is a shout against futility hostage, but its echo never lasts long. Yeah. Then Sand and Wentz climb down, and she hears some pacing sounds behind that locked door. Heavy shuffling sounds, not like girl footsteps or anything. And she's told that only Draconis has the key. The latch is still dusty. There are no windows. There are no other entrances. And so it must have been her imagination. That's it. Mystery over. It's her imagination. Right. Then Lahanis wakes up and she sees that she's being tended by a houseblade. Ivy says that her companions have abandoned their wounded and so these guys are taking care of them. She is not injured, of course. She is fine. Then he says that he will send her back, but he wants to know why they attacked in the first place. She tells him that she saw them attacking her village and slaughtering everyone. And she says they followed their track. Ivis says now he realizes that it was the Legion who were camping very close to them. They have left a track, and so he gets the truth of it. Like it was a mistake, and the Legion was like they purposely led the border swords to attack Dracon's hold. Then Ivis tries to explain to her and wishes he had parleyed first, but he wouldn't have been allowed a chance to talk. They both know that. And then he gets the names of the border swords who. Okay, I lost my place. Wait. Okay, he gets the names of the border swords who went with Draconis and learns they were all sent back just a short time ago. So he's going to write a letter to the border sword and ask Lahanis to deliver it. And Yalad, who is the snarky one, he tells her to relax because Ivis is a little measured in writing letters. So you have time, have a drink of water or something. And then she's mortified, and then she says, she tells him as he goes that, sir, you didn't kill us. And Ivy says that, I have
No, I
killed you
did.
now. So anyway, she
No.
decides that, now I do. Yeah. She's so guilt-ridden, she thinks that once she delivers a letter, she's going to like kill herself in front of them. And yeah, all sorts of things. Now, can we go to the other sad part? We finished one sad part. We have the Hust Forge.
God, I feel like
From the Hust Forge. Yeah.
you know how in like Hamilton, there's like Jefferson, like after the death of Philip, he just goes, "Can we go back to politics, please?" That's how I feel now.
Yeah. I mean, can we go back to Kadaspala moping?
God, yes.
So anyway, right, from the Hust Forge, 7 wagons have started their journey to the Hust Legion camp. Galar Barras caught up with the train and is glad to have their company, but they're all a little muted because of the news of the wedding slaughter. And they're not exactly mourning, but they are more worried about what the event is portending. It's portentous, right? That Highborn being
Ominous.
killed. That's why I paused. And Galar doesn't understand how Teist can kill Teist. Like, how do you mark one as your enemy? They ride past lots of old ruins, and we're again told that the forests are hardly there. Right? So Galar is now midnight skinned, and this reminds him of the encounter in the Chamber of Night, where the sword was or may not have been blessed by Mother Dark. We still don't know that for sure. So, but it doesn't matter, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks the words they had exchanged there were like heady with meaning and blazed with fire and all that. He has heard that Anomander, for all his power and status, could not prevent the slaughter, and that he has broken with Anderist. This is what he knows. And then he starts daydreaming. He imagines meeting Taurus and telling her general's call to war. She would march north, and maybe by winter's end they would clash with Urusandra's legion. He's sure they're going to win, but the taste of victory would be too bitter, is what he thinks. He knows that what Rake wants is for Mother Dark to bring Urusander to heel, and together, like Rake and Urusander can hunt down all the murderers and bring justice. But he also wonders if this world they now have is it worth preserving. Anyway, back to daydreaming of Taurus because it's more fun. He thinks of her as an uneven woman with uneven love and that he is a fool. Then he expands his personal experience to the whole of Taist, which is really good. The way they demand for virtues in others while being cheaters themselves, right? And this is how they're going to divide good, and some imagine foreign evil. It's a flimsy construct, and when they attack enemies, they're only trying to fight the worst in themselves. Okay, they reach the camp. The picket towers are empty, and he wonders if they've already left and has he missed his lover. The banners are in place, but there are no guards. He wonders if a drinking has created this
Okay.
huge breach. Yes, yes, this huge breach in discipline. And slowly, slowly, we are built into the horror, right? The tents are still standing. There are a few figures moving, and people are still sleeping. Somewhat, it is strangely still. And then he sees her. Torres is walking across the compound with a jug in hand. People are watching her, but they're not approaching. And then he wonders maybe it's some kind of illness. So, but there is no smell, there is no sound of suffering, nothing. He comes close and she doesn't even notice. And then the jug in her hand is actually full, and even it's not even opened yet. Then Galar questions some of the soldiers nearby, and he doesn't get any cohesive answers. But we learn that Hunral has ridden east before dawn, and we learn that Corporal Ranid came running and drew his sword, which he should not have done. We know now why, but he should not have done that then. Then Galar tells Torres that he has word from Lord General Hust. She says it's too late, and the jug in her hand was a parting gift. Then suddenly she says her husband is not here, so Galar will have to do. She opens the jug and asks him to join her in this drink to celebrate peace. He says, "There is no peace, sir. I bring word of war." And she says, "But listen, see how peaceful it is now. We are at peace." There has been a night of revelry, and she wonders, she has this. Okay, it's a long tangent, and then she wonders why the gods made every pleasurable habit a poison. Maybe they have no understanding of joy, and they're miserable shits, and she won't worship them. My girl, Taurus is my girl. Yeah. Then she calls him her lover. Okay, I lost my place again. Sorry. She calls him her lover and wonders why he doesn't. He wonders like why he doesn't even feel shame or guilt that she's openly calling him a lover in front of her soldiers and all that. Then she calls everyone to join her. They will all drink and they will set suffering upon these sour faced gods when she meets them. Then she's about to take a drink. Someone shouts, and Galar, instinctively he draws his blade to strike it down. His weapon starts howling. It awakens all the other weapons in camp. From every tent and every scabbard, the weapons are howling. Galar drops his weapon to cover his ears, but the sound has reached inside him, and he feels himself being torn free and flung skywards. And scabbards are bursting open, and then it hits him that they were all poisoned. And he looks down and sees Torres is on all fours. She's eating clumps of the wine soaked clay, choking and coughing. And the wagons have reached the descent, and the first one topples. There are wooden crates inside, which burst open. And this was the last gift from Hust General to the Hust Legion, which was just armor. And the howling keeps on building because now the armor is answering the same howls, right? So the tents start ripping, the ropes snap, horses break free, and all that. Everyone is, yeah. And through it all, Galar feels like a battered kite rising up, and abruptly the howling stops. He plunges down, and blackness engulfs him. And his still last dying thought is never and never again. Yeah.
Don't think Galar dies. Does he die?
Doesn't he?
I don't think so.
He's dead.
I'm fairly sure he doesn't.
It blackness
Hang on.
engulfs him is how the book ends. So the chapter ends. We have to open
Yeah.
Fall of Light Dramatis to see if he's alive.
Doris hasn't drunk from the drug that Honral gave her, and like she goes to drink, and then like Galar stabs the drug from her hand, and then he just drops.
But she's eating
I don't
the
know.
clay. She's eating the wine-soaked clay to get
I mean, she'll
poisoning,
probably
right?
puke it all up, right?
We don't know how fast the poison is going to act.
We don't. That's true. But she's eating dirt, not drinking wine. Like I think there's a definite level at which their organism would reject it.
I don't know. It's horrific. Please don't.
Yeah, no, it's
even
pretty.
if it is
It's
in Fall of
bad.
Light, You should not be telling it now. You should save it for part two. It seemed very explicit. Blackness engulfs him. What else? It's not like
He
I
falls
thought
to
he
the
died.
ground and hits his head.
And yeah, and he dies.
I don't
I've
think
been
so.
feeling so bad after reading this chapter, thinking that, oh God, they're all dead. All of them are gone or something. Okay, please just put it away. That's fine. Let's go to chapter 20.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have my book to follow along.
Mm.
Oh my God, we finished this huge book. The last season we took like 4 months to read 6 books. We've taken almost the same amount
Yeah.
of time to read like one book, just one.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, look, 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 look. This is what I do
Can we like pause?
because I don't like holding books in two hands. Did you see? Yeah, sure.
So, hello. Hi again. So we just finished chapter 19 summary. I had to excuse myself for reasons unknown. So now we're done with chapter 20. So a few things before we get into the chapter. One, it's very verbose. Two, it's very portentous. And three,
It's
it's
very
pretty much a
ominous.
cliffhanger, but not exactly. It's very ominous and portentous, yeah. But it's also big. It's like really big. So this is gonna take a while. But you knew that because you've seen the
It's not
timestamp.
so
We
much.
haven't.
It's not so much. See? It's not much.
Yeah. God damn, this is okay. I'm not gonna look. I'm not looking. You know what? I'm not looking.
Okay,
So
let's go.
to distract myself from
You want me
more
to keep interrupting you?
violating the book. Yeah, sure. If you like, sure. No problem.
Oh, is this like bothering you so much? Like, is this why you had to take a break?
No. That's not the problem. No. So anyway, so scene 1, chapter 20, scene 1. So the chapter starts with a harrowed and Destalon who seeks sanctuary in Ryzeran's home, exchanging no words with the historian until he's well inside. Rise sees upon Endus face a mask donned with hope that hides the suffering hidden beneath. He admits to himself that he doesn't know what to do with the priest, and so offers him mulled wine. And from here, it all goes downhill. And I mean, not just here, in the entire chapter, it just goes downhill from here. So, strap in. So, Endus has come to Rise because of his dreams. The same horrid dream visits him again and again, and Endus admits that he has no certainty that the world he lives in is real anymore. Every waking moment is but a curse from his dream. Rise gives Endus some pragmatic advice. The world around you feels real enough. The stone, the wood, the clay, even when mortals are ephemeral and ever-changing. Endus' curse is ubiquitous among mortals. While he dreads the dream that awaits him, Rise wishes to wake up and discover that all has been a dream. And that, which is admittedly not the best advice to give at that point in time, Endus starts beating himself and so that he does wake up and discover this was all actually a dream. And at Rise's response, Endus, heart-wrenchingly, replies, "How can I know that I'm not asleep?" Yikes.
Yeah.
Then the priest goes on to detail his dream. He relives an SDS night moments, but the scene is not right. The Purake brothers are present, and they're arguing, as the woman dying on the hearthstone is dressed as a high priestess. Which, I don't think I need to explain why none of that shit's right, but anyway. And that justifies this by saying that such women would make of their surrender a gift, and do recall Narad's words about Anestia, if you will.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Right.
Technical difficulties, apologies, moving on. So,
Yeah.
then the priest goes on to detail his dream. He relives Anestia's dying moments, but the scene is not right, and I don't feel like I need to explain why it's not right. The Purake brothers are present because, we've seen
Why
it
isn't it
before,
right?
and
Why?
obviously. Anyway, but also, I don't know.
But also, It could be like, like predetermined fate or something. That no matter what, even if they were married, if they were not married, if she died in Andrew's arms or if she didn't die in his arms and all those things, the point was this was supposed to happen. So he's just seeing the multiple versions of it. But that's what I was thinking, that it's sort of like hinting at some type of fate in this world, that she was supposed to die and it was supposed to cause this rift. And Anamander would have to take the blame and all that. But the exact details don't matter, right? It doesn't change anything. All the visions he sees, it doesn't change anything.
No, I'm thinking about it because
Sorry
we
for
have like
interrupting.
3 different versions of the same event in Tall the Hounds and in this book. So I'm wondering, like, is that important? Does it
Yeah.
actually hint towards like some? I don't know. Maybe, who knows? That wasn't exactly what I thought of it, but we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
So the Purake brothers are present, and they're arguing as the woman dying on the hearthstone is dressed as a high priestess. And this justifies this by saying that such women would make of their surrender a gift. And do recall Narad's words about Anestia, if you will. The woman on the hearthstone is dying, and she's already wed. What? About Narad's words?
What was it? What was that? Don't just hint.
Oh, okay,
stuff.
fine.
Yeah,
It's like chapter 7. I don't remember. It's like chapter
remember.
16,
How
I
do you
think,
expect
something like
anyone
that,
else
where
to
he just
remember?
goes that she
Just paraphrase it. It's fine.
he knew she was still alive, and he knew that she was yielding to him to make him feel welcome, to make of her surrender a gift to him so it doesn't feel as bad. That's basically what I'm going for. Which, Steve is a good author,
I'm sorry I asked.
but also fucked up. Anyway,
Sorry.
so the woman on the hearthstone is dying, and she's already wed to Andrus, and she herself is a high priestess in truth. Sometimes Andrus is present, but not always. After the woman dies, Andrus hears Anomander, though he cannot make out the words, and he whispers in Mother Dark's voice to the dead woman. Rise is about as confused as we are, and reassures the priest that it is all a dream. Moreover, he tries to find rational explanations, for a pragmatic man, Reiserad is, for what Endus is witnessing. So a few years ago, on a banquet, Scara tangentially attributed the title of High Priestess to Anestia. Endus wasn't there, obviously, when the woman died. Nobody was, save for her killers. But the priest insists. He blesses this world's claims to its veracity. In other words, Endus really wants to believe that this is all a dream. But how can he believe when he wakes with Anestia's blood on his hands? Symbolism. When he walks the halls and notices her portrait. Rise has further explanations. Anestia's grandmother, Anestilla, I think. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. Anestilla. Yeah, okay. Nailed it. Grandmother was a high priestess in the Hall of Portraits. She was also like, I don't know if it's important that she was the last high priestess of the river god. I have no idea if that matters. Moving on. It could matter.
I think it matters. Yeah, definitely it does.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you're just pretending that
No, there's like a lot of things going on in this chapter. I don't have time to think about all of them, so we'll keep it for two. So yeah, Anestia's grandmother was a high priestess in the Hall of Portraits, and if the blood of Anestia is on anyone's hands, it's on Mother Dark's. But the priest...
She was the... She was the high priestess of the river god, the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if you mentioned that, so I just wanted to...
But the priest fires back. Mother Dark has no right to use him so, if the blood is indeed on her hands. We also learn that Cedarpool has denied Endus due to the former's fervorous devotion. Endus has misgivings, and he's not quite so eager to become an unwitting vessel for Mother Dark, especially not as a witness to a heinous crime. Rise essentially admits to Endus that he is lost. Reason has no place in matters of faith, and he has quickly run out of ways to rationalize what's happening to the priest. So Rise believes that without belief there can be no power, And through that, he wins freedom and he loses everything. Ooh. Yeah. The historian instructs Endis to sleep and to dream. And looking at his friend's sleeping face, he waits for the mask to crack. So that's like the first scene. Yeah, no, I don't
disagree. Being a good friend here.
This is about 2.5 pages, and it's like 2.5 pages on my end as well.
Right.
So there's a lot. There's a lot going on under the hood. Yeah. So scene 2.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Orphandal, Hish, and Grip are riding through Kirkanis, and Orphandal wonders if his mare has a name, and if she does, what that name means to her and the other horses, and if she knew the other horses' names, what did that mean overall? He knew not, but he knows that a horse ought not to be blamed for the action of its master, and this has quite a few interesting ramifications and parallels with all the hounds. See the ox, the infamous ox, and Calor's warhorse. I don't remember the name. I'm sorry. Do you remember the name? Calor. In a flashback, how it took like the spear for him.
Of whose?
Calor's warhorse.
Veneth or Veneth or something.
But yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make. That Orphandal believes that animal shouldn't be blamed for this. And then Calor in his thoughts was like, the horse didn't know that Calor was a despicable man who started this war and reveled in bloodshed and all that because the horse was stupid. Badaron, yeah.
Sorry, it's
so.
The horse's name is Badaron.
The more you know. So the same Orphandal realizes is true of children. That they cannot be blamed for the actions of their superiors or their parents or their relatives or whatever. So that these questions, he realizes, are nigh meaningless. To ask questions was to know, and to know that was to comprehend that many such questions had no answer. Which I should stress here, Orphandal is 5. Yeah.
No. Sorry. No.
So ahead. Yeah.
Just listen to the way he talks.
He's 5 years old and he talks like this. The same.
That's not funny.
So ahead rode Grip, bearer of...
And he drinks watered wine.
That he does too. So ahead rode Grip, bearer of grim news, and the silence of both Grip and Hish made Orphandal quite uncomfortable. But that didn't matter, because they rode now for the Citadel to relay Orphandal into the keeping of the Sons of Darkness. He had nothing to fear amidst such heroes. Is that what he did? Anyway, Hish drops back and informs Orphandal of the hardships that befell Abar Dalak. Grip glances back momentarily and then turns away, and that unsettles the boy. Hish continues. The monastery and the hold have been under attack, Neris is dead, and the place was burned to the ground. And Hish actually justifies this quite well, that it's better if you learn from us, because we care, than from some uncaring asshole in the Citadel who was just like, oh yeah, by the way, that happened. Which, for someone who's single and a devoted, well, I say that, and then she goes, then anyway, he's just pretty good with children, is what I'm getting at. Yeah, for someone who's single and then immediately in this chapter, it goes on and makes with Grip, so whatever, I'm dumb. Never mind.
No, I don't know what you're trying to say, that she doesn't have experience with children,
Yeah,
but
pretty
she's still good with children. Is that what you're trying to say?
Do you dispute this?
Yeah, continue.
I don't know.
I don't think you need to be a parent to be good to children. It's just common decency.
Anyway, so Orphandal seems rather strangely unfazed by Neris' death, though his heart... No.
I think you're lost again.
Okay, well, shit. Okay, for the love of God, please work. I'm so sick of this.
Which
Anyway,
God? The miserable shits?
probably. Force of miserable shits. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, bear with us. This is going to have a lot of this. So, Orphandal seems strangely unfazed by Neris' death, though his heart does sink for Rennek, and he inquires Hish as to if he lived, to which Hish does not immediately reply. The lady then goes on to describe sadness in an overlong, quite verbose manner of Scalara's sadness belonged, quote, joy and ending does not exist, and those that seek it are doomed to fail, and when sadness inevitably arrives, they flee away from it like cowards. Did I
May I
lose you again?
interrupt? No. I just,
Okay, yeah,
I just
please
wanted
go on.
to say something about Scilara because that quote, the sadness belonged quote, made me cry. But this one didn't. This was just very casually handled for Forge of Darkness, for all the other gloomy stuff. This was just, yeah, you're going to be sad, and sadness is part of life. But Told the Hound,
Yeah.
sadness belonged was just, it's next level there. Yeah, please continue.
I think, like, in Toll the Hounds, they're actively sad. You know, like, they're sad, and then there's people who would reject us and be like, oh, no, you shouldn't be sad, and, like, talks about it. Here, just, like, you're going to be sad. Sadness is inevitable. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. It's a dice.
So, yeah. Hish does quickly realize that she is talking to a 5-year-old, and she pulls the brakes on the verbosity. But Orphandal steps up and then responds that he will weep for Rennek and his horse tonight. Grip protests at last point, but the boy responds that if he had not sacrificed his horse, then he would be with Rennek now, and the horse would be free, with a few memories of a boy that was not cruel to it. Hish sends Grip
Yes.
onward with Orphandal, and yeah. Sadness belonged. So, the boy's words
like
had threatened
Shadow
Hish's
on a
frail
cotillion.
disposition. Yeah. well.
Well, okay, there's a lot to get through. I'll stop interrupting you. Just go on.
Yeah. Sorry.
Now,
So
Priscilla?
the boy's words threatened Hish's frail disposition, and indeed, her imposition of self-control upon herself following the event at Andor's home, and probably irrevocably shattered it. She had to ride back to her keep. Kurald Galain was dangerous, and not even hostages were sacrosanct. I'm using big words when I can't use them. Anyway. But that decision was made
Please,
difficult
okay.
by the feelings Hishtula heard for Grip Gallus. She knew that such
Please.
feelings would invite mockery. Grip was not highborn after all, and she knew that she could hardly weather them, but nonetheless, Hish had made peace with being alone in life. The world was simple, even a notion as detestable as war, and she could make her way through it. In the citadel ahead, however, awaited uncertainty. God damn it. And Hishtula resolved to weather the scorn of the highborn, both for her and for Grip Gallus, in the name of love, because she was no longer alone. Oh. She hoped Orphanthal would find somebody in the meantime and cease longing for death. The realization of what drove a wedge between Orphanthal and Rennek comes to Hish quite quickly, and she prays that Rennek lets Nurse Trokorlat know of all the horrors her fear inflicted upon living and dead. And you can share the quote now, if you want.
Oh, tells her, see, it was me, that one, or tell her her grandson does not mourn her passing, that one.
Yep.
But yeah, the thing is, it says nicely that in death you're all made equal. So that was good. Yeah. Do you need a voice rest?
So, yeah, scene 3. No, it's fine. So, scene 3, and this is actually one of my more interesting scenes.
Yeah.
So Emerald Lanier walks through the citadel halls and ponders. Long now has she studied the faded tapestries, and felt a frustration at her inability to discern details. Why could her old age not be disguised so? She had long now given up hopes of fading into the past, though she never ceased dreaming about it. The past, perfect in its blissful indifference. That, by the way, is like 2 paragraphs in the text. And this is a summary. So,
Yeah.
she finds an Amanda and Selkas in the rooms, one seeming blissfully unaware of the chaos descending on the realm, and the other looking as though he's about to strangle his brother. Emerald declares that Mother Dark will speak with Anomander, and his reply is like, "Oh, how kind of her," is rather sarcastic. Selkas is frustrated, a common theme in the scene. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is so snarky, Rake in this whole scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
So, for the record, at the time of recording, Mora's flair in the subreddit is Mother Snark. So, you can see why she relates to this more.
I'm going to change it soon.
Yeah. Now you know. It's been passed on by history.
And you also...
Anyway. Yeah?
Did you notice that Rake's typical sitting position has been the same since Goddess of the Moon? Of sitting with his legs straight and his arms folded on his lap.
Yeah.
Oh, you not noticed? It's his typical sitting posture, and usually he puts his shoes very close to the fire. Like in Memories of Ice, it actually starts smoldering and stuff. It's so funny.
I think it wasn't all the Hounds. Like, it's good that I'm immune to fire because I've smoldered the fuck out of my boots or something.
Was it Told the Hounds?
So,
yeah.
I think so. I think it's when he's talking to Endest.
Somehow I thought that was like Memories of Ice. Doesn't matter.
I think it's Spinnock. He's talking to Spinnock about like the Redeemer, and anyway. So he burns the fuck out of his boots sometimes. Here he doesn't have a fire because he doesn't need it because he has night vision. So thankfully his boots are safe to see another day. Anyway, Selkas, as will be common for this scene, is frustrated. Andorus is gone, the realm is descending into a civil war, and Anomander, ever so obstinate Anomander, refuses to do shit about it. Neither brother fears Andorus would take his own life. He doesn't seek quick release. But the crimes committed are going unanswered, and that galls. Anomander awakes from his trance and chastises Emerald. Mother Dark would see him? Would she offer him a faith to stand on? Would Emerald's yielding flesh provide resilience when the act itself is deprived of love? And she flinches away because she doesn't deserve the half of it. And the matter continues, though he does beg forgiveness soon after. He describes civil war in its crux, per Selkas, who begs Anomander to finally get on with it. At least take a damn decision. Either forego Andorus entirely, or seek him out and make amends. Anomander does neither, fearing that Andorus would reject him should he seek him out, and being himself unwilling to give Andorus up, which, on the one hand is noble, on the other hand he's not doing anything, so... Selkas insists, if he is to do something, he must do it now, before it all goes to shit. If Mother Dark refuses Anomander naming the slayers of Jane and Anesdia as her enemies, then let him name them his enemies in the name of Andorus and his grief. Anomander, again, will not, and we're at an impasse again. So, who better to break the impasse than Kurald Galain, who announces Orphanel's arrival. The boy enters and introduces himself in a very verbose and very dark manner, which silences everybody. They have like some talk about, tell us about your tale, who's worthy of a bard's tale, who's totally Galain, like directing himself. And then Orphanel says, I came with a bunch of caravan guards. My home was burned down. I lost my friends. I lost my horse. I don't know what kind of tale I'm worthy of, but I'm glad to find you here, guys.
Hi.
Yeah, and Selkas steps up to take it upon himself to lead the boy to his quarters. The boy's words have stunned everyone, and Grip can't quite find it in himself to excuse himself from Anomander's service, and so he bends the knee to the demands of his lord. And so, Anomander requests the High Priestess's escort to the chamber, which she graciously accepts. Orphanel, in the meantime, berates himself for making a fool of himself in his first meeting with Anomander. He vowed he would do better next time, and make himself an important part of Anomander's staff, like Kurald Galain. Except not quite like Kurald Galain, because Grip is a treacherous murderer. Treacherous murderer. My accent is shit in that word, I'm sorry. He is murder, bloody murder. Yes. So his thoughts are interrupted by Ribs/Providence, depending on your perspective. Orphanel's first friend in the Citadel. And upon Selkas's inquiry as to what such beasts would say if they could speak, Orphandel claims that they would ask us to leave them alone, and their happiness is simply them begging us to leave them be. A dreadful thought, that.
Yeah.
Grip, in the meantime, returns to Hishtula and confesses that Nomander had pressed Grip into service. The Son of Darkness is now on his way to the Chamber of Night, but Hish is in no mind to let Grip go alone. If he is to saddle her horses, she will join them. In the meantime, Emerald escorts Nomander. I've used it in the meantime like 4 times. I swear to God, they're all happening concurrently. I'm sorry. Like there's 3 different scenes going on at the same time in the same scene. So, Emerald escorts Nomander to the Chamber of Night. His husk blade is audibly clanking in his leg, a harsh reminder of the other sound the self-same blade could make and the rumors it spawned in the Citadel. She recalled her discussion on the matter with Rat, and more pertinently, his response. It was ever the failing of lesser men and women to hound and derogate the achievements of their superiors. At least their moral superiors, because as Emerald rightly points out, the notion of material superiority is both subjective and open to challenge. And Amanda, Emerald thinks, must have been hounded like that. There could be no way it wasn't, but his blade was still incomplete, and surely that must have meant something. That's it? I don't know. Probably does. I mean, if they go to such pains to actually point out that it must mean something, it must mean something. There's no smoke without a fire in Steven Erikson land, so. They reach the chamber, and then Amanda wishes Emerald's counsel on the matters of faith, because Sintara has become the priestess of light, and she is harbored by Urisander. That complicates things, and Amanda would rather the presence of the priestess. She reluctantly agrees, and they enter within to find Mother Dark accompanied by Gris and Farrell. Amanda is unimpressed at the Azathanai's presence. They are in a civil war, trying to keep the realm from tearing itself apart. The Azathanai quite readily failed in that regard. And Grayson does concur, but his presence as the protector is no less necessary. His presence, indeed, heralds the crossing of the threshold with no turning back, which is something Mother Dark purportedly did not realize, confounded as she was by Triss. Apparently, Mother Dark and the River God, struck a bargain for peace between them, albeit evidently this bargain had scant effect on the River God's worshippers, which is the kind way of saying it didn't say they were being slaughtered. Triss, however, is unknown to Grison. He has some idea, based on the fact that she came from the Vitter, and we know of 2 Azathanai that came from the Vitter total in this book, so it's a 50-50. And he, well, I guess technically there's more, but we know of 2 named ones, Triss and Ordata. So anyway, basically 50-50. And he cannot help them in any substantial manner in that front, though Triss did display an unusual directness for an Azathanai, which should have invoked the wrath of the Azathanai attributed to the Taist.
Who was that?
And that rings all sorts of alarm bells, and that rings all sorts of alarm bells in Emerald and Anomander. Is Mother Dark an Azathanai? And if so, is that why Mother Dark has swatted him away? Rightfully, Mother Dark shuts all this down and commands the First Son to find Lord Dursander. And now, I have to say that I need to somewhat make a few, weird word choices to avoid using the words Anomander and Dursander in the same sentence consistently. So, if this sounds a bit weird, I'm sorry.
You can just say Mandy and Uru.
I could just say that, yeah. But I would... Yeah, anyway. So, he refuses, instead electing to ride with the arrival of the Khast Legion. About that one. Even if he were to march, he would need to be chained down so as to not stab the Lord in the gut. And if he were to disarm himself, he might as well offer his throat and turn. Yeah?
Yeah, not just chained down, like chains of the weights of mountains and It's all extremely
Yeah,
exaggerated. He doesn't
He
just
like
say
very.
regular, straightforward stuff like that. Yeah. Sorry, did I break your flow?
Yeah. No,
Okay,
no, it's
take a
fine.
drink of
So
water.
no,
And
no.
you know, he didn't. He doesn't talk about offering his throat. He talks about offering the back of his neck.
Okay,
The
my
text.
bad.
Yeah. No, it's like he kneels and offers him the back of his neck. So, like, very Ned Stark. Oh, did I spoil season 1 Game of Thrones for you? Oh, no.
Oh yeah, I've not watched that. How I? No, I know Ned died, so it's fine. But yeah, I don't know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Oh, by the way, spoilers. Ned Stark
Spoilers
dies.
for.
You've been spoiled for like a 25-year-old book, whatever.
Excuse
Um,
me. Is it seriously 25 years old?
yeah, it's from like the late 90s, no?
I have no
Game
idea.
of Thrones,
No, I just
95,
called this
96.
show because I've not read the book either. The show is like 10
Yeah,
years
so-
old or something.
Yeah, like 12. It's from 2011, I think. Anyway, if you don't know that Ned Stark dies in the Song of Ice and Fire, well, it's your fault, really. So, Mother
Can we
Dark
get
then
back to
informs
Carter?
Anamander that Ursander is not treacherous. He has nothing to do with any of this,
Yeah.
and it falls to the first son to seek the Lord out and turn their ire upon the true slayers. Now, a few things. Number one, Galar Barris brought this up in the last chapter. And number two, this is something that Anamander should know, because they've talked about this before with Haas and Earl. After the assault on Abaradalak and in his house, Anamander and Henral basically had a chat in chapter 15 about like, this is not Ursander's doing, this is Hunral. And Anamander should know this. So the fact that he considers Ursander to be treacherous
Yeah.
is a very interesting thing. You know, it's we're falling down basically. Like we've crossed the threshold.
No, it's not just
So-
about the NSTS slaughter because I think Anamander is more doubtful because he's harboring Sintara, right?
Yeah, because harboring Sindara, yeah,
Harboring
obviously.
the
You
direct
get the idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway,
Which, by the way, Mother Dark told him that like we're not gonna chain down Sindara. We're not gonna stop Sindara. The wound must be made in order to be healed. And he's like, no. She's a treacherous bastard. I'm gonna go string him up.
he's very young. We can forgive Anamander. Forgiveness blesses
can.
both sides, right?
Okay. Alright.
See?
Yeah.
See?
Nailed it. So, according to Anamander, there is no need to seek the Lord out because he prepares to march upon Kirkanis, and the first son is done deliberating over meaningless gestures. He will protect Kirkanis at all costs. With those words, he departs the chamber. Grisden is actually quite impressed, albeit quite sad on behalf of Mother Dark. If there was another way, she says, she would most assuredly choose it. Mother Dark's advice to Emerald, do you have the quote at present? You know, the make your
one?
worship an unflinching belief of the unknown
Yeah,
and
yeah.
unknown and indeed the unknown.
1 second. Yeah, I have it. Okay. I did not highlight it. So, High Priestess, make of your worship an unflinching recognition of the unknown and indeed the unknowable. By devotion and acceptance of mystery, the chaos that haunts us all is made calm, until the sea itself becomes a mirror content with a placid reflection. Awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Which,
This is why I chose this
because this
as
is
my favorite
Kirkanis.
god.
Yeah? Oh.
This is why I chose Mother Dark as the favorite god. Yeah. An actively
So because
turned away
because
god.
this is
It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
like-
Go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, she's actively turning them
So
away,
as
right?
I said,
Like,
because this is Kirkanis. Okay. Yeah. Sorry,
Because
relying
it's
too much
Kirkanis?
and like there's a delay. I'm sorry. So because it's Kirkanis, there's always like a parallel to all the hounds. And this basically boils down to Celin's can you live without answers? All of you, ask it of yourselves.
Yeah.
Because if you can't, you will most assuredly create those answers and you will And is it a spoiler to say this gets brought up again in Full of Light? Maybe. But this gets brought up again in Full of Light.
it's a spoiler. It's a spoiler. It's a spoiler.
It's a spoiler. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Yeah. So, like Salind, Emerald rejects the notion. You know, she doesn't find much strength in that surrender.
In surrender.
Mother Dark claims that she didn't refuse the lust of the recesses because in the moment of climax there was utter surrender to the expansive mysteries of the universe. Emerald's dry response, if that moment could last forever, we would all be mad, is met by an equally dry response from Mother Dark. It was always a flawed disposition. Which, translation, because this is pretentious capitalist speak, if we were always in orgasm, we would be mad. Maybe we shouldn't be fucking all the time then. That's the translation. So, now, they are to embrace the cold void and await its sweet kiss. As perhaps they should have done originally. Meanwhile, Sulcas has taken Orphandel to his room.
No. Finish it.
I will let you know. I will let you know.
Yeah, because she is going to do that, right? She's going to go into the void. Yeah, I did not pick up that, and I thought that was very interesting.
Spoilers.
That it comes to people. No. Oh my god. Fine.
Anyway, meanwhile,
Sulcas
has taken Orphandel. Yeah.
The goddess fled.
Yeah.
Right? Please, I will shut up. Shutting up.
Oh god. Okay. So, meanwhile, Sulcas has taken Orphandel to his room. It reminds him an awful lot of his room in the Bar de Lac, yet his imagination consistently conjures up a memory of a burned out room filled with smoke, soot, and the faint echo of screams. Yikes. Orphandel is visibly unsettled by this, but otherwise he does not react. Cedarpool enters with Mora, as Mora pointed out, stained robes. And he takes over Sulcas' responsibility of looking after the boy.
In the interest of decorum. Yeah.
Yeah?
In the interest of decorum, we should not be pointing out. Yeah, we should not.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Cedarpool takes over Sulcas' responsibility of looking after the boy, only to then give him to Rais Ran's responsibility, but not before Sulcas parts ways with the boy, foreseeing an impressive knowledge of historical battles.
And also?
Oh dear. Next scene.
I think Cedarpool says that he will be. I think Cedarpool says that he will have an education in Confucian or something, right? They make fun of
because it's Rais Haran, right?
Rais given charge. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Please go on to the next scene with Kadaspala.
Okay. The next scene is just like I could honestly just post the entire fucking quote, like the entire thing, the entire scene. It's just go read it. It's really good. Go read it. Anyway, so Kadaspala sits alone in his room, lamenting the death of his gods and the absence of color. In shades of grey and black, he has painted his room after a rather long exploration with his remaining senses. He has had a few visitors in the time since arriving here. They had taken his knife, and the few healers that attended him could do little. Ever since, the only people that would visit him were servants, and he would ignore them or laugh them out of the room. Kadaspala is bereft of the proofs of his ambition. All the things that would drive artists and poets have been taken away from him. He feels no anguish, he longs for nothing, and wonder is dead within him. He is dead to the world, and lives within his own tomb, along with his lifeless gods. He holds his previous heart in contempt. Banality can be found in perfect rendition, as though talent is depicted only in utter loyalty to the source material, as though it alone could announce profundity, and knows that he no longer needs to hold his contempt in check, like he once had to. Kadaspala had indeed descended into madness, following that grievous scene. He's not even sure if that madness had passed. His blindness made everything uncertain, and he could only make it certain by painting it. He would paint his world around him, the tiny room, the furniture, the people wandering outside, and then, after he finishes, he would paint the world about him, all in shades of black and grey. He would record history as would a blind man, along with not yet blind Galain and Rais Haran. In this new world envisioned by Kadaspala, which sounds remarkably similar to Kurald Galain described to us throughout the book, contradictions are embraced. The highborn lavish in their lifestyles while the poor chafe. They are hanged for poaching while the nobles would hunt. Untold riches would be stashed away while orators would decry the paucity of all. And eventually, all those lies and contradictions would catch up to them, and the world would burn in exquisite vengeance. And honestly, I can just have more quote the entire thing about like the historian weeping in the boat. Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
honestly
see.
so fucking good.
I
But
see a
yeah,
future.
and everything
Yeah,
ends.
go on.
Yeah, go on. No, I don't have anything else to add. Please go on.
I see a future laden with ash and soot-coated pools and gibbets groaning, and all that I see I will paint. And all the historian would not say, keeps him mute. And the weeping poet will walk away to hide his absence of tears. And everything ends. He heard himself laugh, a low cackling sound, and quickly etched its wavy, juddering lines with his finger. The streaks hung there in the darkness, slowly fading as the echoes dwindled. The blind man paints history, the voiceless historian mimes the tale, the poet dispenses with music, dancing in discord. There is no rhythm to these brushstrokes, there is no beginning and no end to this tale. There is no beauty in the song, and this is how it is, my friends. This is how it is. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah, how could you even attempt to summarize this? I know.
I just quoted the entire thing. I like
You could have
quoted a
just
bunch of
ended it
things.
here,
Yeah.
right?
It's just, oh yeah, honestly, yes. I don't need anything
Yeah.
else. Just end it
Yeah.
there, and everything ends. This tale has no beginning nor end, and just ends. Anyway,
Okay, come on. That's a good scene coming up. Yeah.
yeah. So scene 5.
Hish.
Back to the citadel. Hish, Tula, and Grib Gallas meet 3 of Anamander's officers. Kilaris, Prazak Gul, and a distinctly male Dathanar Honduras. Do note that the surnames are not used. Matters are fraught, and the
Yeah.
fugu, the fog, descending over the realm, so everyone
Fog.
confused and reaching for violence.
I have no
As
idea.
though to
how
complete the
say
metaphor, yeah, I don't either. As though to complete the metaphor, Anamander steps in and commands the captains of his houseblades to ride to the hust. Again, irony, and to see to the legion's provisioning. The 3 captains left, and as Anamander prepares to ride, Hish makes a request of Anamander, let Grip go from his service as he requested. Then the whole situation gets rather confused.
it. I
Now,
mean, yeah.
Mandy, to his credit, steps up and solves everything in a decisive manner that is not particularly characteristic of him at this point in time. He asks for Hish to withdraw her
Please.
request, and he willingly decommissions Grip from his staff. He would see love made right on this day, and both Grip and Hish are stunned by this.
I like the whole scene where,
Oh god.
yeah, you're back. Don't
Yeah.
worry. I like the scene where Grip tries to like solve it, and he steps close to Hish, and both Anamander and Hish raise a hand. Like, we are talking. I thought that was a nice touch, because right. So anyway, are you going to the
And,
next
yeah.
section now? Which is, I think, even more.
I guess we are. Oh yeah, the next scene is like awesome, but simultaneously very sad, but also very good. I don't know how to feel about
Is
it.
it sad? I didn't find anything sad here. It was good. It was so much. What do you call it?
It's just I
So
don't know.
cathartic to have Scara come back and yell at these people. It's high time someone yelled at all these guys.
Spoilers.
Spoilers for the section we're about to
Anyway,
talk now.
I'm gonna
For the chapter we
yeah,
are
I'm gonna go
discussing
get
right
the
now.
quotes.
Yeah.
Yes, precisely. I'm
By
gonna go
whose
get the quotes
command?
because by whose command? Yeah. So I'll put it bookmark
you
on this
have
because
the
I
audio
honestly
book,
like the best way to summarize this are just to
is to just read the book, isn't
yeah.
it? So what are we doing with
Yeah,
this podcast?
honestly, yes.
We might as well just. Oh.
Yeah.
So
Honestly,
if you
this
have
one,
the audio
anyway.
book,
Yeah.
it's somewhere around 1 hour of chapter 10. This scene, because I really wanted to hear Scara shouting at his soldiers. So I went to listen to that. It's at around the 1 hour mark. Yeah.
Now you know.
Go on. By whose command?
So, scene 6. Narad is walking in the forest, and at last he has turned his penchant for self-recrimination outward. This place reflects his own self, broken down, ugly, downtrodden, and he feels like he belongs, just not the company he holds. Other legionnaires had joined him, Khalid Bahan and Taflorad from Abaradalak, with tales of slaughter. Narad had also heard that, at last, Captain Scara had arrived, and he wondered what sort of curiosity drove him to see the captain's face. He knew not, but he knew for sure that transformation surely awaited Scara. Narad had taken to assigning faces of death to his comrades, either as a game, a promise, or a prayer, and was eager to do the same for his captain. What he saw, however, he did not expect. By whose command? Scara was furious. He demanded to know who commanded the troop, and Narad was quite surprised to find that the captain actually held some integrity. Shocking.
Yeah.
Scara gives the troop a very thorough dressing down. They had very particular orders given to them by him personally, and they were disobeyed in favor of von Raal, and he is very brutal about the whole ordeal. There's no sugarcoating about what the legionnaires did. The soldier's defense is the classic, I was simply following orders, because Hood forbade we ever think for ourselves in this realm. And Scara then takes his case to Khalid Bahan and Dalorat to rip them a new one as well. So, Khalid is in a mood to defuse the situation, but Scara, alas, is not. And I quote, our cause indeed, Khalid.
Yeah.
Do remind us, Khalid, of that cause. I find myself in need of this noble list uttered aloud. Be logical in your assembly, and lift us all once more into the realms of virtue. But pray, old friend, begin at the bottom, there in the blood between the dead woman's legs. Without awaiting a reply, Scara continued, Will you not carry us higher, then, ignoring the stains as best you can, to a hostage slain defending that woman, cut down, not in honourable contest, but as a wild dog staked to the ground, then to an old man, a father and hero of the wars against the Vorlagen, who died on the threshold of his son-in-law's house? He spoke loudly, with weight, and that voice carried through the camp, pushed hard against the silent soldiers. But wait, let us add a new rung in this righteous climb to our cause. A maid, one arm severed and then cut down. A maid, venal benefactor of the iniquity we so despise. And the houseblades, barely armed, who laid for our cause a carpet of split flesh and rotted grasses. He raised his arms, like a narrator set aflame with outrage. But here in you we see more signs of von Raal's certain path to justice. The burnt corpses of deniers in the forest. Why, those old wax witches grew fat at our expense, did they not? And the children showed improper pomp in the cut of their rags. Do speak to us, Khalid Bahan, of our pure purpose. Tell me how a choice of faith divides the realm we have sworn to defend. And do name your reasons for the side you set us on. Write your list in the column of smoke behind me and stretch it across the heavens.
Cease your tirade.
Cease, yeah.
That
There will only be
perfect,
justice
the whole
for
build-up.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like Khalid just tries to stick to a pretense, and then Taz's like, no, none of that shit here.
Yeah.
We're only going to have justice when everyone else when we stand unopposed. We needed to strike first, Scara, and in a manner to divide our enemies that remain. Divide? Does anyone truly believe that scattering a few corpses of deniers among the slain will win a forced trail? Lord Jane was a master with the blade, but even he could not match Kurald Galain. That man slain by deniers? He fell to multiple thrusts, killed by trained soldiers who knew how to fight a blade master. Do you all take Lord Alamander for a fool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you seriously just going to keep reading?
I think this is about the point where I should stop reading because, but anyway, to make a long story short, Scara rips the legionnaires, has the new ones, and it's incredibly satisfying. Hashtag not my blood eye.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Halleck then points out that crimes on both sides will be committed, even as propriety goes abandoned, which is 100% a fallacy, and Scara outright resigns his command from Mersander's legion. Tath mocks him. Standing aside is no longer an option, and if he flees, Silcaster Ruin will hunt him down with the vengeance in his heart, and then makes a rather explicit threat to anyone deciding to join Scara. If they leave, they will be considered deserters, and Vathar Thunder does not take very well to deserters. Which I don't think I need to point out the irony of Tath Lorad saying whatever.
I don't.
I ruined the joke. Anyway, Narad is momentarily conflicted, but he eventually resolves to join Scara, with the most disturbing image of the sergeant of his troop lying on a hearthstone. I'm not going to quote that. Believing his words to be most correct, and, well, they are. Scara would write to set his hold, and though he does not recognize Narad, Bursa vouches for him, and instructs anyone who wishes to leave to do so. Sedis is far, Sedis is exposed, and people would see them coming from half a day away. If they're outlaws, they won't be safe in Sedis. A few resolve to leave, but the rest of the troop elects to ride with Scara.
Delight in company. Fool's delight in company.
Fool's delight in company, my friends. Yeah. God damn.
So now,
Scene 7. So, Sister Emerald Lanier is having what can best be explained as a crisis of faith. The words of her goddess, quote, make your worship an unflinching recognition of the unknown and indeed the unknowable, have rocked her world. The venal nature of her worship has been laid bare, and the gifts promised by Mother Dark are few and far between now. The biting irony of youthful, beautiful Santara being the High Priestess of Light, while aging Emerald is the High Priestess of Dark, is not lost on her. At least, she reminisces, darkness eternally hides imperfections, while light hides nothing. But then, are these two forces not defined through being opposed to one another? How does one define darkness if not the absence of light? Thus, Emerald concludes, the two of them are poised as enemies, though that need not be so. Moreover, if holy words and scripture could not offer answers, what good were they? They were scant better than curses. Anyway. And if restitution was not found in the mortal realm, well, what good was that? What good is salvation in the afterlife when the mortal body suffers for eons? Are they not then invited to inaction and indifference? As a quick aside, the Book of the Fallen staunchly disagrees with this assessment, and I'm inclined to agree. Are mortals then to dream and to hope, but never to know? And a certain warlock then steps in and says something about humility, you fool. But anyway.
Yeah.
The devotion asked for by Mother Dark offers little in the way of... Yeah. Go on.
No, if I'm entirely honest, this whole section was... I didn't feel anything for this. It was all right. It's just Emerald going through the same thing again. No? I didn't enjoy it.
Okay.
So, that's all. Sorry.
Yeah. So, the devotion asked for by Mother Dark offers little in the way of restitution or reward, and so Emerald elects to make certain arrangements with High Priestess Sandara. She is, however, interrupted by Rasarat as the conjuration is underway in the Citadel. Lord Draconis has arrived, though they know it not. Spoilers. Anyway. Okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that there's two different numbers being used that are very specific, and I have no idea if they're important or not.
Okay.
Number one is the 28 arms of the Terrandai. As it spreads, it makes like a flower. Like it bore 28 arms as like the points of a black painted star. And then in the next scene, it's like when 9 dragons arrive. And he like emphasizes on that, like 9. He counted 9. I don't know why that's important. So I'm just putting that out now. If it is important, feel free to comment on it or think about it. I don't know. Maybe it's important later. I don't know. Anyway, that aside, Emerald believes the emanation stems from Mother Dark's power, but the manner in which Rais Harat puts things casts doubt on that supposition. Her presence here is to calm the masses and ensure that they at least believe the power is indeed Mother Dark's, though that does not particularly matter as Lord Draconis arrives from Blossoming Darkness. Draconis immediately cuts to the chase. He has a gift for Mother Dark and requests of Emerald, now the first daughter of Night, to open herself to Mother Dark and kick open the door of faith. And you may note the glaring irony of Endus Salon inadvertently letting Mother Dark within even when he doesn't want to Emerald being assaulted by her goddess's presence and being unable to let her in despite her best efforts. It's not accidental. Anyway. Draconis is here to grant Mother Dark and the Children of Night a gift. Emerald feels a certain trepidation coming from her goddess, which exponentially increases as the gift is unfolded. The Terrandai granted to Draconis by Erastus, containing the Gate of Kurald Galain, and as the pattern of darkness ignites, Mother Dark fled. In the Chamber of Night, Grisenfarl watched Mother Dark. Darkness had surrounded the courtyard, flooded into the citadel, rushed down into the depths of the Dorsan Rill, and Grisen could hear the death cry of the river god as the darkness enveloped it. Grisen all but admits to stopping Mother Dark and Draconis from communicating, the aforementioned door that remained locked within Emerald near, but he endeavors to give Mother Dark advice which she's not particularly happy to receive, given the fact that she does not want any of this. More Zatanai fuckery is the last thing that she needed. Oh, profanity. Grisen then elaborates on his purpose. He is here to preserve the balance that Draconis has invariably destroyed. In a manner of speaking, he claims all forces exist in opposition to one another, which we just saw, about 2 pages ago. Hence, balance. Even the abyss, a vast emptiness, exists in answer to life itself. According to Grisen, what sets apart gods from mortals is the boldness of their arguments thrown against the abyss. Evidently, the river god lost his argument. The deniers are lost, having lost their world. And now, Draconis has granted Mother Dark a gift out of love, even as the Thais are ignorant of his true nature. The true bearers of the blame for this are the Azathanai, not just Draconis, but also Triss, Grisenfarl, and Kurald. But in giving Mother Dark dominion over Night, Draconis did what he did strictly out of love. And, as Grisenfarl claims, so did Kurald. And as we learn, the blood still flows from this Kurald. Grisen departs as he has nothing left to protect. His closing thoughts mention that with one gate opening, there will be others.
Is that what we're going to see now? Spoilers?
Yeah. Spoilers. So, scene 8. At Glimmerfate, the wardens under Kalhastain are investigating the shoreline. Some reverberation had been heard, and though they'd spent a good 3 days on the shore and are well and truly sick of it, because it turns out Finara Stone wasn't exaggerating in the least, they still ought to exercise due diligence and search. They did, and it was a pretty bad idea. To make a very long story short, because there's not much going on here, it's just descriptions, flowery descriptions. Spinnock is overtaken by a sudden conviction that nobody can stand against nature, and that the Thais are conceited to even think they would be able to fight the Vitter, before 9 fucking dragons emerge from the gate of Starval Demelane and hovers above the Sea of Vitter. The wardens are fleeing, they can do no less, as Glimmerfate goes to shit around them. As they flee, Spinnock stumbles and falls to the matted grasses, and starts bleeding everywhere, because they're the grasses from Glimmerfate.
Except his face.
Only to turn back and except his face, yeah. Only to turn back and gaze upon the sea, which has now being stopped by a magical barrier, and now it has started retreating. The Elaine flew away now, far to the south, towards Kirkanos and into Kurald Galain. And that's when the, he counted 9 Bard comes in, and I have no idea why that's important. But anyway. Oh boy, we're getting there. Patience.
Yeah.
Endist is walking through the scene 9, by the way. Yeah. Endist is walking through the forest on an old pilgrimage of sorts. He had awakened 3 days ago, alone and distraught, with a sense of betrayal and Raisaran's abandonment. Alas, as he soon learned, the cause for his abandonment was the manifestation of darkness, which evidently is a bit problematic, and Endist had fled that manifestation. A rider had been catching up to him, but he is in no mood for discussion. He barely recognizes his own realm, deniers living destitute, half-starved in the forest, scurrying from the path of a bedraggled, similarly half-starved priest. His bandages were blood-stained nigh constantly, and he dreads the very place he is drawn to. The rider speaks to him in a voice that Endist recognizes. He is Lord Alamander, who comments on his sorry state and offers him food. Moreover, he can't seem to find a salve to his battered conscience in this forest. It, much like the deniers inhabiting it, is dead, or its inhabitants have fled. Endist makes a rather striking comment. The meek of the realm are ever prone to fleeing, encompassing both dice and animals. Another potential parallel to Cylindr, which surprises Anamander because, he is diced. And, okay. Quick aside. Basically, the only people who have considered, animals to be worthy of any regard is Venth, who is a horse master, Orphantal, Ivus, and Endist here. Basically, everyone else, whatever, fuck them. Just saying, this should not be surprising to Anamander. They're like, oh yeah, maybe we are being cruel to animals by hunting them for sport. Who knew? Yeah, whatever.
No, but I think Draconis has some rules, isn't it? The forest in his lands.
Yeah.
If you find poachers, they can hang them.
Yeah, he hangs poachers in his land while nobles hunt in his villages. Kadaspala. Poetry. Anyway, Anamander requests to see Endist's face, but he respectfully declines. When Endist's destination is actually revealed, the Lord is not well pleased. The two are converging while at the same altar, and given Endist's current disposition, Anamander inquires if he plans to make it a shrine. Okay, the rest of this dialogue and the rest of the scene is just pure competence porn, and I am here for it.
And do you know? Because obviously we are talking about Toll the Hounds in between. So Anamander says goodbye to Endist. He's the last person he says bye. Started here their journey. I don't know. It's so
and
nice.
He will thank him for the eels.
Oh God, no! Don't remind me of the eels. Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. So yeah, the priest hadn't thought of that. So yeah. Yes.
No, are you going to read it or are you going to summarize it? Is what I want.
Oh, I'm summarizing. No, it's too big anyway. Okay. I'm not gonna be able to read the whole thing in 4 pages, 5 pages. So the priest hadn't thought of that, though again, given his current disposition, he might just do it inadvertently. But Anamander doesn't believe he can consecrate the home. He fears, however, that not only will he find the hearthstone upon the threshold broken, but also that he won't come upon his brother. Endist, alas, has a confession to make. Mother Dark has made of Anestia her high priestess. Shit. Anamander, understandably, is indignant at this news. She blessed a corpse? Mother Dark never laid claim to the souls of the dead. Those are not the ways of the dice. For the record, Anamander barely gets a burial. He just... Kaladin, opens a fucking hill, puts him in, and closes the hill again. That's all the burial that he gets, and he's rake.
Yeah. So what? He gets a single bar symbol.
What I mean is that the dice don't have funeral customs. They just leave their dead there. It's fine. Whatever.
Okay. Here. Okay, just listen. The whole thing from Gardens of the Moon, we see that the Taist do not take care of their dead. They just leave them wherever they fall and they just keep going. Do you know why? It's because their goddess is turned away. Their souls will not go anywhere. It's just left to wander. Yeah, it was set up in Gardens of the Moon that the Mother Dark was. Oh, shut up. Go on.
No. I mean, I know that. I believe you. It just what I mean is they don't do it here either. Like even when Mother Dark is not turned away, they still don't bury their dead.
They
Well,
do.
maybe they do.
Okay,
They do bury their
just
dead. It's
listen.
just like Mother Dark
Beneath the
isn't
stones
concerned
on the
with her dead.
floor, priest upon the threshold to the house. My brother insisted and would have told. They have buried all these people. They have buried Krill and the house blades and Jane
Oh
and everyone.
yeah. I slipped. I'm sorry. I slipped. What I meant is, like even now they don't bury their dead so that Mother Dark can take them. That's what I mean.
Alright,
May I continue? So yeah,
please do.
Endless does not believe. So Endless does not believe that she now lays claim to the souls of the dead either. What brought him here instead were visions and the blood of Anestiel in his hands. Yeah. So Anamander is rather pissed at Mother Dark for this. Why should she make others bear her burdens when she chose him specifically for this purpose? But he does accept, however begrudgingly, the fact that Anestiel has not only become a high priestess, Mother knows she was used like one. Yikes.
Ouch. Yeah.
But he also agrees to carry Endless to her grave. The latter had seen this dreary scene again and again in his dreams, the barrows of Jane and Krill, the mass graves of the houseblades, but the key difference is that in his dreams, Anestiel is still dying. And Amanda replies with a vague, I fear the truth of that is in us all, and I have no clue what that means. Do you have any idea?
I don't know, in all their heads, she's still dying and dying and dying. There's no end to her death or something like that. Even for all of them, they're constantly replaying her death, probably. Right? There's no completion to that.
Okay.
I don't know. It's a long book and
Yeah. We don't know. Steve beat us. Yeah. So he replies to that vague sentence, and then he steps within to announce to his brother that he came to set aside vengeance. For the record,
yes,
this is not the Anamander we're used to in Forge of Darkness. Like chapter 20, Anamander Rake is very good. Like he's like the Anamander we know from the Book of the Fallen. He's like the good guy. He finally does things.
Yeah.
He acts properly. Even when he like does the wrong thing, which Galain will point out very soon. At the very least, he's doing something. And also, one last thing.
Yeah.
There's the thematic importance of Hood not blaming Erastas for his brother's death, for his wife's death, not his brother's, and instead blaming death. And now Anamander, rather than like declaring war upon the Legion and the Slayers of Anesti and Jane in his brother's name or in Grief's name or whatever, he instead seeks Henris now to set aside grief, to set aside vengeance rather, and embrace grief. Now he is denied because Galain's a bitch, but he made an honest effort.
Yeah. True.
So, alas, the figure within is not his brother, but Kaladin Brood, who is here to protect his gift from Anamander's rage. The stone is beleaguered by the blood shed upon it, because it's bound by Zathanai sorcery. Though it still holds well enough, but should Anamander betray the trust inherent to the sorcery within it, as in the blood vow,
Yeah.
Who knows what will happen? Kaladin claims that that Anamander will fail in making this right, but he will try. Thus, he will accompany Anamander, though neither wishes for each other's company. Honestly, just read this entire dialogue, it's great.
Yeah.
I will accompany you. I wish it not. That's one thing we share. Motherfucker. It's awesome.
Yeah,
Just go back and read it.
Yeah. Will there be peace? Will there be peace?
Should I? Yeah, there will be peace. So hang on, let me get there. He
Oh,
will not
you,
come
you
into
still
Manor,
have.
if only
Oh,
because he cannot be sure that his gift was not what caused the whole mess. Yeah, I still have quite a bit to go. What caused the whole mess in the first place? Now, there's like this whole thing about like faith. Just read that. Faith requires no bargains and whatnot.
you, you've been saying that. That's why I skipped to
Okay.
the end, and then you're still saying that.
No. Hang on.
920.
I'll get to.
920.
Yeah.
I made no such
Uh,
bargain.
Uzi.
Faith cares nothing for bargains.
So yeah. Yeah.
She has left me nothing.
Nah, this is not.
left it
No,
alone.
this is not the time now. No, one sec. This is
Oh,
not the
go
time
on,
now,
go on.
Amanda, to draw that weapon in this place. I see behind you a priest. In his hands, I see in his hands the power of Mother Dark, and the blood she now bleeds, and so the bargain of faith is made. I do not understand. Lord Anamander, she has now the power of an Azathanai. This power is born of blood, and in the birth of a god or goddess, it is that entity that must first surrender it. And you, who are to be her children, you will surrender your own in answer, and by this, darkness is forged. Roll credits. Now,
Roll
feel free to
credits.
relay the rest of the code.
Yeah. No, but this one
Feel
I
free to
didn't
relay the rest of
notice
the
it
code. Yeah.
now. I just realized that this is what General Hust was asking, that if a sorcery is like blood magic. At that time it was not, but now it is blood sorcery. Yeah. So I made no such bargain, Anamanda said. Faith cares nothing for bargains, first son. She has left me nothing. She has left you alone. Make of your freedom what you will, Anamander. Do with it what you must. I would end this civil war, then end it. Caledon would step forward. If you ask Lord Anamander, I will show you how. Anamander visibly hesitated. He glanced back at Endest, but the priest quickly looked down and saw the grave stones crimson beneath him. He felt suddenly weak and sank down to his knees, sliding upon the tilted cairn. He then heard, as if from a great distance, Lord Anamander speaking. Caladan, if I ask this of you that you show me how, will there be peace? And the Azathanai answered,
There will be peace.
yeah, thank you.
One note before we move on to the next scene is
Yeah.
faith cares nothing for bargains is basically Kaladin blowing Emerald out of the water, and it's just God. I love this fucking book. It's a really good
You do?
book.
You do? I
Sorry.
didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Arathan and
So, yeah,
Korea,
scene
come
done.
on, the good part, and then we can be done.
Yeah. So, over the Tower of Hate, Arathan storms into Korea's room and does not behold her newly awakened and thereby undressed form. Instead, he rushes to the window to bear witness. Korea is surprised and appropriately distraught by this. Like, for the first time, like, a young man rushes into my room and does not take note of my naked form. What does he do? He goes to the window. And Arathan does confess that he does find Korea attractive, but he does not trust her. And then immediately amends, please, that was not meant to offend. Which, we know what he means, but Korea doesn't know what he means.
I don't know what
So
he
Arathan
means
admits to a somewhat,
Like, why doesn't he trust Korea? What does he mean there? I don't know.
Oh, I mean, he
I find you attractive,
doesn't
but I
believe
don't
in love
trust you.
anymore.
Sure.
So
He's what?
I don't know.
He's
I think he
17,
just
18 in
I
this?
think he fears loving people. Yeah, he's really young. I just think he fears loving more people. That's all.
Please,
So
the hoops
Arathan
are
admits.
me, yeah.
Arathan admits to a somewhat morbid curiosity. Gothlas awoke him this morning with peculiar words. He is such a fool. I fear my heart will burst.
Yeah.
Now, upon gazing out the window, he realizes what Gothlas meant. A gate to the realm of death has been fashioned, and Hood plans to claim it with his newfound army of tens of thousands of grieving, lost souls. and Gothos had wept.
Can you believe it? Can you seriously believe that?
I'm not done.
Okay. I know.
I'm not yet done, sir. Yeah. So the book ends with Galain sending us off. He did not walk among them, neither the dice nor the army to fight death. And though Hood had raised a banner of grief, and Amanda and the dice could not see it from where they were, Galain then invites Fisher and us to ponder those comprising the army that will march on death. They're all living, cursed with surviving, and so Hood's banner would ever draw more adherents. The only legion capable of marching unto death is a legion of the living. Behold this army. It is doomed. And he just drops the mic, walks away. Time enough for two old men to weep. Blah, blah, whatever. So,
Whatever. Yeah.
that was Forge of Darkness.
Done. Yeah.
And how long did it take? Like 4 months to read the book? 3 months?
Did we take 4 months? Seriously? When did we begin? I don't
think we took that long.
Yeah, we
it
must
was
have
like
taken
weekly for our
10 weeks. 20 chapters, 10 weeks.
11
is
weeks
what we took.
plus a prelude.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, like nearly 3 months. God damn. Okay. Well.
Yeah. No, the book kept getting better and we kept getting worse at summarizing. So
Yeah.
it just went longer
we
and
noticed that.
longer and longer. Sure.
On a more somewhat personalized note, for the past at the time of recording this, right? Every time we upload on Sundays, by the next morning, about 30 people have listened to the latest episode, which is insane because what the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't know if like 30 different people are like reading along with Forge of Darkness or if they're just listening to the other episode because you enjoy them, but to all of you crazy bastards that are listening right now,
Can we not
many
call
more.
them crazy?
That, are you part of the boys?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the support throughout. This is not the parting yet because we still have a discussion to make, but yeah, we ought to disclose that for the foreseeable future until July, we'll be a little bit busy because yours truly has exams, and so I will be unfortunately unable to actually participate in further recordings. So, however long that takes, hopefully
the
like
recordings
2-3
for-
weeks, no more than that.
A month, I thought. We'll have a break for a month. Maybe.
This should release somewhere in mid-June. So if you're listening to this in like early June, hi, just add an extra
Doesn't
week.
matter. It doesn't. By July, we should be back. Sometime in July.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, early July we'll be there. So thank you for listening. And
We're just winding up this one?
Hello?
Sure. We don't have
I
anything more,
mean, do you
right?
have anything more to say that we shouldn't save for the discussion?
don't
Like we have a whole discussion episode for this.
Yeah. So I guess this is bye. So thank you so much.
We'll see you in the
As Lee
discussion
says.
and then we'll send you off there.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Bye.